Yud Sh'vat, the 10th day of Shvat, 1951, was the first Yom Hilula, the anniversary of the day of passing, the day of elevation of the previous Rebbe. And the Hasidim, many Hasidim, for an entire year, were pushing and asking and trying to get the Rebbe to become the Rebbe. And the Rebbe always refused. Sometimes he refused forcefully, sometimes he just brushed it aside, but he always refused. On the 1 year anniversary, so 1951, exactly 75 years ago from today, right? Exactly 75 years ago, the 10th of Shvat, is when the Rebbe officially became the Rebbe. Now, he became the Rebbe before, but this, from the Chasidim's perspective, he was already the Rebbe. But he had made it official to the world. How does a Rebbe make it official to the world? He says a Chassidic discourse. He says a mimer. Only a Rebbe says a mimer. So the Rebbe said a mimer, the mimer Bossi Legani, and he divided it into three parts. But there was a talk that the Rebbe gave before, and there was talks that the Rebbe gave after at this farbrengen. And a very important piece of information for everybody to know that's listening and watching over here. The Rebbe shared, if you want to know what is Lubavitch, when a president becomes president on January 20th and he's sworn in, so the president gives an inaugural speech. He gives and what does he say over in the speech?
What he plans on doing.
He's supposed to say what he plans, what's the next 4 years going to look like, what he has plans for the country. And the same thing is with every office. When you get sworn in, they give a speech and they try to lay out what their plan is for the office.
Yeah.
So the Rebbe said, well, the Hasidim would take that the Rebbe's first mimer was his inaugural address. If you want to know what is Lubavitch, anyone wants to know what is Lubavitch, if you want to understand what is Lubavitch, you have to read and study the Rebbe's inaugural address. If you see the Rebbe's inaugural address, his first mimer, you'll be able to see that everything else that happened till today is all a continuation of that plan. It's all a fulfillment of that dream. That's what it is. So the Rebbe said as follows. He said, the Medrash says, Ozlas lekarta, ovad kenimusa. When you come to a place, when you arrive at a new place, so you do like the residents. In English, this is saying, when in Rome, do as Rome. Similar idea. So he said like this, in America, this is the Rebbe saying 1951, in America, they love to hear statements. Everybody loves to hear a statement. Can you give me a statement? Especially if you're a somebody and something special is happening, something unique is happening, they want a statement. Provide a statement to the public. And in that statement, they want to hear something new, something fresh, something radical. Right? That's what the press loves, especially the press. So the Rebbe said, I'm not sure why this is so. Why does everyone have to make a statement? I don't know. But that's the reality. This is the way it is in America. So this is how we'll do it. And the Rebbe went and he proceeded to give a statement. What was the Rebbe's statement? What is the Rebbe's statement that he gave in 1951, 75 years ago? He said like this, there are three loves. There are three ahava. We say in the davening, ve'ahavta, eis Hashem Elokecha. You shall love God. There's one love called the love for God. There's one love, the love for Torah. And there's one love, the love for Yisrael, for your fellow Jew. These are called the three loves. And in essence, they're all one love. It's one love that expresses itself in three ways. And therefore you cannot separate them. You cannot divide them, said the Rebbe, because they're essentially one. So if you have love of God, but you don't have love of the Torah and love of your fellow Jew, can we really say that you have love of God? Is it possible to love God and not love the Torah and not love your fellow Jew? No. Why not? Because all three loves are essentially one. They're all connected. They're not three separate loves. If they were three separate loves, so I can love God, and that's irrelevant to my love for Torah and my love for my fellow Jew. But because it's one love, you can't fully love Hashem if you don't love God's Torah and you don't love God's people. In the reverse, let's say you have a lot of Ahavas Yisrael, you have a lot of love for your fellow Jew. It's a great mitzvah, the Torah, to love your fellow Jew, right? Zeh klal gadol b'Torah. It's a great mitzvah to love your fellow Jew. The more you have Ahavas Yisrael, you will eventually come to love God and love Torah. That's the reality. And this is the statement that the Rebbe said everyone should know and should publicize to the whole world. If you have a Jew, if you know a Jew, you know fellow Jews. Yeah, maybe even means me. If you know a Jew that loves God but doesn't love Torah and doesn't love their fellow Jew, you have to tell them that you cannot love God alone without loving God's Torah and God's people. God is not independent from his Torah and from his people. It's not going to last. If you see someone that says, I only love God, but they have no love for Torah, no love for their fellow Jew, it's going to be short-lived. It's not real. When you see a Jew who has love for their fellow Jew, so then one should strive and do whatever we can to draw them closer to the Torah, to the love of Torah, and to the love of God. What does it mean to love your fellow Jew? You have people that love humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid is a beautiful thing. To give food to the hungry and give shelter to the needy is a beautiful thing. Right? Everyone agrees?
Yes.
No one will disagree with such a thing, right? Avas Yisrael, to take care of the Jewish people. However, along with that, they should take this love and they should also use it to draw Jews closer to the love of Torah and the love of God. And when you have all of these three loves, then you have a triple knot. And a triple knot, loy b'meheira yunotek. It's not going to untie. You can't untie a triple knot so easily. And that's the trick that the Rebbe said, and that's the statement that he wanted everyone to do. And if Jews will walk around with a three-pronged love of God, love of Torah, and love of Israel, Jewish people, that is, then we will merit to have the Geula Shlema, the complete redemption. Because the only reason why we went into this exile is because Jews couldn't get along with each other. So if we rectify that problem, we will remove the cause, and automatically, therefore, their effect will be null and void. And that's the job of our generation, to bring the Mashiach. How do we bring the Mashiach? By focusing on these three loves. Love of your fellow Jew, love of Torah, and love of God. This was the Rebbe's statement. And you see in the statement right away, this is the Rebbe's focus. The Rebbe's focus till today remains that every single one of us have to look at our fellow Jew as something that's indispensable, that we have to connect with, And you cannot say to yourself, I am fine as a Jew without my fellow Jew. They don't think like me. They vote differently than me. They're not as observant as me. They don't appreciate the things that I appreciate. So cut them off and I'll just be fine on my own without them. No, you can't. You can't serve God properly. You cannot love God properly. You can't have a proper relationship with God if you're cutting off your fellow Jew. It doesn't work because they're all three connected. It's not easy sometimes. Sometimes difficult. But this is the goal. This is what we're trying to achieve over here. So some people ask, what's the difference? You go to Borough Park, you go to Williamsburg, you go to Israel. There's a lot of different groups. Maybe Shalom knows the difference. Depends what type of hat you have, what style hat, what side the ribbon is on, how big the socks, the white socks, the black socks, pants high, rolled up, regular pants, rolled down. A bunch of different groups and sects, right? They all have their own name. They all have their own leader. They all have their own rebbe. They all have their own manhig. And then there's Chabad. Chabad is unique. Chabad is not like the rest of them. And many times people ask, what's the difference? Chabad also has a unique hat. Chabad also has unique garments. So what actually is the fundamental difference between the Chabad Hasidic group and all of the other Hasidic groups? The difference between Ger, Belz, Satmar, Bobov, Amshinov. What are the other ones? Give me a few other names.
Bells.
Vizhnitz, Racham, Strivsk, Papa, Square. The difference between all of them is very minor. It's very minor.
Yeah, but Bells and Amsterdam do care for their fellow Jews.
No, everyone cares for the fellow Jew. So what's the difference between them? That's the question. They all care about each other. They're all lovely people. So what's the difference? The answer is it's just where you're born into the family. But the philosophies are not very different one from another. Of course, they all have their unique community and they have different rules and regulations. But really, philosophically, their outlook on life, their perspective on life is very, very similar to one to another. Chabad is radically different than them. What's the radical difference of Chabad Lubavitch? The difference of Chabad versus, but besides for outreach, outreach is secondary to what I'm going to say now. Outreach is secondary to what I'm going to say now, the difference. The difference I'm going to tell you about right now. This is even before there was a concept of Jewish outreach. Way before there was a concept of Jewish outreach, there was already a difference between the Chabad way of Hasidus versus the other way, the other Hasidic groups. The verse says, "V'tzadik be'emunosoi yichya," and the righteous, the tzaddik, the righteous one, with his belief in God, he lives. And there's a way to read this: Al tikri yichya el yichaya. Not that he lives, but that he causes others to live. Which means all of the Hasidic groups collectively pretty much believe the following idea. The Rebbe, the leader of the group, is the tzaddik. And as the tzaddik, he's responsible to do the work on behalf of the community. He represents our community, and he's supposed to take all of the Hasidim with him on his journey, in his prayers, in his service of God. So in essence, how great am I? They won't talk this way, but if you boil it down, it's how great am I? As how deep of a relationship can I have with God? As deep as my Rebbe brings me. That's how far I can go. I ride the Rebbe's coattails. That's the way it is. But in Lubavitch, in Chabad, that's not the way it works. In Chabad, they said the Rebbe demanded from every single person to do work on their own. No free rides in Lubavitch. That's the difference. No freebies. You want a part? You got to participate. You got to get to work. Now the Rebbe said, I'm here to help. A Rebbe is here to help. But a Rebbe is not here to do the work for you. The work, you have to develop your own relationship with God. And that development takes time. It takes effort. It takes studying. It takes asking questions. It takes hanging around. It takes being in the right environment. It takes farbrengens. It takes social life. But it's all your life. You're in control. You are the one that's going to make these decisions. So no one writes you a blank check and tells you here, you don't get it via inheritance. You don't get it because you're born into it. You have to do work on your own, said the Rebbe. That's the difference between Lubavitch and everyone else. The Rebbe is demanded from every single chassid. They have to do work on their own. Of course, the Rebbe provided insight. The Rebbe provided guidance. The Rebbe provided teachings. The Rebbe provided everything that we need. There's nothing that we need in our own service of God that the Rebbe didn't illuminate and show us and guide us and teach us. However, we can't rely on anybody else. And this is what the Rebbe demanded from the first moment that he accepted upon himself to become the Rebbe. He said, you guys have to do work. Don't think, oh, we appointed a new leader now. We have a new leader, and the new leader is going to do all the work for us. Beautiful. Lubavitch will be successful. You know why Lubavitch is going to be successful? Because we have a great Rebbe, and the Rebbe will take care of everything. The Rebbe, no, not going to happen that way. This whole program is dependent on each and every one of you. So I accept upon to be the Rebbe. I didn't use these words, but that's basically what the Rebbe was saying. I'm going to become the Rebbe now. But it's going to come at a price for everybody. And this price is something that we see unique that the Rebbe had that was so deeply profound. It cannot be stressed enough. How much the Rebbe believed in you. How much the Rebbe believed in you. How much the Rebbe trusted in you. It was absolute. He loved every single Jew to the core, and his trust in every Jew is absolute. And that's why the Rebbe really believed that we're going to get the job done to bring the Moshiach. Because he trusts in us. If he doubted if we're capable of doing it, he would have never said it. You have to be pretty confident to tell people that you guys are going to be the ones to bring the Moshiach. It's going to be this generation. There's no more Rebbes after this. This is the generation that's going to bring the Mashiach. How can you be so sure, Rebbe? Well, you want to know how? You want to know how the Rebbe was so sure? Because the Rebbe believed in each and every one of us. 100%. Not 99.9%, 100%. We should only believe in ourselves like the Rebbe believed in us. You're familiar, if you hang out with Hasidic groups, you know, there's something called shirayim.
Yeah.
Chap shirayim.
Give you a piece of, the Rebbe takes a piece of challah and then he passes it around.
The Rebbe makes the motzi, takes a little piece for himself, and then he gives everybody a little small piece. The Rebbe eats a little bit of fish, and then he passes around the Rebbe's plate to everyone. It's called shirayim. Shirayim means leftovers. Chasidim, chap shirayim, they grab leftovers from the Rebbe. If you go to all the groups, when they have a tish, when they make their little tish, it's all about chapping shirayim. They grab shirayim from the leftovers of the Rebbe, and they believe, why do they chap the shirayim? It's part of the belief that the Rebbe takes us with him. So if we can take a little bit of leftovers from the Rebbe, that's mizaka. So that's meritorious for us. It's a great thing to have. Imagine you have a little piece of cake that the Rebbe had from. You have a leftover piece of challah of the Rebbe's challah. That's unbelievable. right? It's what a merit to have a piece of the Rebbe's challah.
They mean well,
It's fantastic. I'm saying it seriously that it's a very beautiful thing. However, in Lubavitch they never chapped shirayim. In Lubavitch they were never into shirayim. Now it happens to be that by the Rebbe's farbrengens, people did. The Rebbe didn't give shirayim, but as soon as the Rebbe left, everyone grabbed to take whatever was left over on his plate. Not from his plate, from his. If the Rebbe had a plate of cake or something, and there was leftover pieces in there, anything that the Rebbe left on the table that he touched, people would, as soon as he left, were not in the presence of the Rebbe, no one would dare to touch it. But after the Rebbe left, if it was still there, everyone would try to get a piece. And if the Rebbe distributed, many times the Rebbe distributed from his cup of wine, distributed from his plate of cake. So there's a story with the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe that once had a visitor from a different Hasidic group. And he didn't know that in Lubavitch you don't grab the shirayim of the Rebbe. So the Rebbe was eating, and then this guy thought that he's like everywhere else. At a certain point you go in for the grab. So he went in for the grab. And of course everyone felt bad because, not what we do in this house. But the Rebbe looked at him and the Rebbe said, before he took, the Rebbe Rashab said, by us, shirayim is mizaka. Shirayim, the leftovers, is not a merit. By us, the leftovers is a responsibility. You sure you want it? Be careful what you grab. Till now, the guy was grabbing because he thought, oh, it's a freebie. Freebie everybody wants. It's going to take me to heaven, so to speak. A free ticket to heaven. Who doesn't want? Who's not going to grab? But when they're handing out free tickets to heaven and they say, this ticket is going to cost you responsibility, cost you a lot of work. You ready to sign up for this? No, it's not a freebie. Now we all think 4 times. How much am I ready to pay for this? I don't mean pay in money, but I mean pay with my life, pay with my time, pay with my perspective. How much are you ready to pay? That's what it means. Shirayim is mechayev. It's something which has to elicit from us responsibility. So we ask ourselves on this day of Yud Sh'vat a simple question. What do I take responsibility for? Well, Rabbi, I'm only responsible for myself. Of course. I'm not responsible for anybody else. I'm only responsible for myself.
Well, ourselves first, and then we try to help a fellow Jew.
Help a fellow Jew? I didn't say help. I'm not trying. What are you responsible for?
It's not so easy. You can't just go up to a Jew and say, I want to help. I mean, you could, but you got to be. There's a certain way to approach the situation.
100%. But that's not the question.
I know it's not so
that's
easy.
Not the question.
But
that's not the question. The question is like this. Pay attention. What is my responsibility? I'm born into this world. I'm here right now. I'm listening to this right now. We're at the Yud Sh'vat farbrengen now. And I'm saying we have to ask ourselves, what am I responsible for?
To refine our character and help a fellow Jew.
So let's break this statement of Mr. Miraglia down for 1 second. To refine ourselves and help our fellow Jew. To refine ourselves, we all agree we're responsible for ourselves. Is there anyone else out there in the world that's responsible for us? We'll agree that we're responsible for ourselves, right? What about somebody else? So it's nice to help somebody else out. Am I responsible for them? Or they're responsible for themselves? And that's the difference. Because up until now, we were thinking, I'm responsible for myself and I'll help somebody else, but I'm not responsible for them. And that's where the Rebbe comes along and the Rebbe changes our perspective. He says, no, you are responsible for them. You're responsible for them. If you feel you're responsible for them, your whole approach is going to be different. What does it mean you're responsible for them? What does that mean I'm responsible for them? What does that mean? It means that I am incomplete as long as you're lacking. I cannot have a wholesome relationship with God. I can't be in love with God. I can't be in love with God's Torah. I can't be in love with my fellow Jew if one of these three are lacking. So I'm responsible to make sure that every person that I am in contact with, every person that I know, is made aware of this. Now, this is where what you said is true. Your approach depends. You're not going to go and tell every person the same thing because not everyone is ready to hear the same words. Depends on where they're holding in life, what stage they're holding in life, how young or old they are, everyone is different. There's no two that are the same. So you have to be wise in your approach. But the common denominator is that we are responsible for each other. I am responsible for you. To help you, I'm responsible. It's not just I'm being a nice person. God put me in this world with a responsibility to help you. Just like I have a responsibility to take care of myself. So we find something in Jewish history. In a few weeks, we're going to learn about the building of the Mishkan. Who built the Mishkan? Who built it? So the Israelites, you give a look in the Torah, and it was a collective effort of all Jews. Donations came pouring in, and then there were craftsmen, each one according to their own skill, they put it to good use. And the question is asked, why didn't Moses build the whole thing alone? He could have done it. Why didn't Moses take a few months and say, guys, God sent me on a mission now. It's called to build the tabernacle. So for the next 3 months, I'll be out of office. And I'll be back in 3 months. And in 3 months, you'll see a temple like you never saw. When it came to building the first temple, King David built a temple. The same thing. They gathered Jews and all the craftsmen, all the skilled people, and all the laborers came to build. Why didn't King David and Solomon build it on their own?
They wanted people.
Because they wanted to give everyone the merit. It's not a personal thing. God's home is not something that's personal for Moses. It's not my God, said Moses, and I'm going to be nice, and once in a while I'll let you in. It's your God. It's the same God that's my God as your God. We're equal in this. So everyone needs to take responsibility to build a temple. It's not my responsibility more than it's yours. It's not yours more than it's mine. Moses wanted to get everyone involved in the project. David and Solomon wanted to get everybody involved in the project. So you see from here that when it comes to building a structure for God, it doesn't work. History isn't that the Rebbe just comes and here's a temple. Moses comes, here's a temple. David comes, here's a temple. That's not how it works. How it works is there's instructions given. And instructions are given to the people. That the people is told like this. You are responsible to take your skill. You're responsible to take your talent. You are responsible to take your contribution and bring it alive. Make it happen. Do something good with it. Elevate it. Bring it out. That's the responsibility that you have. And when every person does that, we have a temple built. We have a temple in the desert, we have a temple in Israel, and we'll have a third temple as well. But it all comes from the fundamental belief that I believe in you. I believe in you 100%, not 99.9%. I have no doubt in you that you can do your job. Now, we live in a day and an age where people are suffering from an illness, a lot of illnesses, a lot of new illnesses that people didn't suffer from beforehand. But one of the big illnesses of today's generation is the people don't believe in themselves enough. we don't think that we can be successful. And we give up too fast. And every time we hear a story, it's like, oh, this person is like a hero, a guru. Wow, look at this person. They didn't give up. They continued. The truth is, the Beinoni is somebody who we're all capable of becoming. And the Beinoni is somebody who, from one perspective, is the most, when you look at the Beinoni, they're the most simple person. They're the average person. Outside, externally, you don't see anything special about them. But when you get to know them a little bit, you know, and you realize and you come to understand, the Beinoni is someone who's a real hero. Because the Beinoni is someone who works on themselves all the time. They're constantly working to improve every part of them. And it's so easy to give up and to say that I'm not capable. God, what do you want from me? You have so many requests. What do you want from me? You want me to keep kosher even when I'm traveling on the airplane and it gets canceled? Speaking to someone today, he told me coming back from Israel to America, the flight got canceled. Stop over in Germany. Then the German flight got canceled. And I stop over and I have to go to London to get a flight there. You can imagine such a journey. It takes 3 days to get back. So I asked them, what are you doing about food? I don't know. They made some type of arrangement. Hopefully someone's going to bring them food in the airport. Right? So you say, God, what do you want from me? I'm coming back, a 10-hour trip. I got canceled. I got diverted to Germany, some foreign country. I have a little bit of food left. Okay, so even now I should keep kosher. Even now, you mean to say? There's so many excuses to say, God, what do you want from me? And here's where the Beinoni comes in, and the Beinoni teaches us that it's not easy. Don't make like it's easy when you're sitting in that airport and you don't have food. Don't make like it's easy. When we live in New York City, to keep kosher is easy. You live in South Florida, to keep kosher is easy. We don't have excuses. But that's not the reality for most of the globe. For most of the globe, it's not so easy. We don't have so much kosher variety. It's not so easy for many people to keep Shabbos. You know, if you don't own a company or you don't own a store, that you have to actually close down your company or close down your store. So then it's not so difficult to keep Shabbos. Everyone has the weekend off anyways. Most companies, old employees don't work. But if you have a store on the avenue and you have to close, you want me to keep Shabbos? You want me to keep the holidays also now? There's a lot of asks that God asks of us. It's true. It's all true. And the Beinoni struggles with each one. But he always makes the right decision. Some struggles are easier than other struggles. And my struggles are not your struggles. Your struggles are not my struggles. But at our core, there's one principle we have to always remember. And that is that the Rebbe believes in us. God believes in us. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe in ourselves the way God believes in us. We're capable of more. We are capable of more. We are selling ourselves short. We complain about the weather. We complain that we're getting old. We complain about there's so many. What enough? There's no reason for it. We have more to offer. We have more to give. We have to give. We have to get involved. We have to be more engaged. So on the special day of Yud Sh'vat, the 10th day of Shvat, and the 76th anniversary since 1950 of the previous Rebbe's Yom Hilula and the Rebbe becoming the Rebbe. Today, that as Hasidim, we think about what it means to be connected with the Rebbe. What does it mean to be connected to the Rebbe? In 2026, what does it mean to be connected to the Rebbe? And we could talk about it for many hours. We could discuss it for many hours. And there's not one answer. However, I think today, the most important answer to be connected to the Rebbe, besides what it means to be connected, means that you listen to what the Rebbe asks of us. In addition, it means that we believe in ourselves like the Rebbe taught us to believe in ourselves. And that means until the end. It doesn't cease to amaze me how much the Rebbe believes in our generation. How much the Rebbe believed in our generation. That we are capable to bring the actual Moshiach. Our generation, with all its flaws, with all the craziness of the world, with everything that's going on. If you were to put this generation up against other generations of Jews, which generation is most likely to bring the Mashiach? No one would ever say this generation. But the Rebbe came along, the Rebbe said that no, this generation actually is the generation. I see you people. I see what you're made out of, and you guys can actually bring the Mashiach. Because we're a generation that's capable of transforming the shtus, the lo'umasa, the shtus, the kedusha. We could transform the spirit of folly that exists for unholy matters, for mundane matters, for matters that lack substance. And we can transform that into radical good ideas, into radical good behavior, into a spirit of who cares? We're doing what's right. That's the spirit of today's generation. So L'chaim, a special day, we should be zoicha, we should all merit to be proper kelim, proper containers for the blessings that are being bestowed upon us today. And as the Rebbe said, that as the Rebbe goes up higher in heaven, it doesn't mean that he's detached from earth. The higher you go, the less attachment you have to earth. That's what it means in physically, that's how it works. But when it comes to a Rebbe, it works the other way around. The higher the Rebbe goes, the more connected he becomes. Not only the more connected, but he takes all of his chassidim and all of those people that were connected with him and all those that had any type of a connection. And they're all elevated together with the Rebbe. The Rebbe brings them up together with him on a special day of his Yom Ha'ilula. So we should all merit to be proper vessels for this special Yud Sh'vat and all of the brachas, and God should bless each and every one of us with good health, with sustenance, with good family life, and everything should be in abundance. Should be ad bli die until we turn to God and we say, it's enough. We have so much good, it's enough. Like Moses had told the Jewish people that they brought enough donations to the temple, so too we should turn to God and say, we have so much of everything that's good, that it's enough. But until then, we say, Ad Mosai. Ad Mosai. Until when? When will the Golus end? An end to all of the pain and suffering. An end to the hardships, to the narishkeit, to this foolishness of this world, to the distractions of this world. An end to all the garbage and the nonsense and the fighting. No more war. No more competition. No more jealousy. An end to all of this. The world will be filled with the knowledge of God. The Meheda of Yameinu. Amen. Chaim.